We're talking United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development on this edition of Farm to Frankfort. Eddie, we're going to kick it off with a couple questions from KFB members. So let's see what we've got this month.
All right, it'll be exciting.
Hey, Kyle and Eddie. Rural broadband continues to be a huge issue across the Commonwealth. What role does the USDA Rural Development play in rural broadband?
Yeah, so Eddie, I guess I can kick off with this one. We've obviously, this organization's prioritized rural broadband for a long time, and the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development, they had a lot of community grants that helped support rural broadband and really kind of kickstart the effort for deploying broadband, that last mile broadband, and we work closely with AFBF at the federal level. Some programs have changed a little, and there's some other money through some infrastructure investment and Jobs Act funding and some different programs in Kentucky now, but it was really that USDA Rural Development, their Community Connect grants, and that was priorities to us that really kind of helped kickstart that.
It was. Those federal dollars along with the state dollars helped really get a lot of it out. We're not there yet. We still have areas we want to work in, but I know that those programs will get there, and we're excited to work with rural development to talk about those issues.
Yeah, and we've got a special guest. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about them. But for now, I think we got another question, so let's see what else we've got.
Hey, Eddie and Kyle. I'd like to know a little more about USDA Rural Development and how they can work with farmers and local leaders to have a bigger impact on rural communities.
You know, there are a lot of programs out there for loans and grants for farmers that if they can work with rural development to get those things for certain projects on their farms, that's one thing that I think that we probably need to do a better job of, us as an organization, of getting the word out about these programs that are out there that farmers can talk to and apply to rural development for those.
Yeah, I agree, Eddie. And a lot of times when we're talking with our farm members, and a lot of what we're used to utilizing is USDA FSA. And we had David Wayne on with us last month and learned a lot. But you're right. There's a lot of rural development programs that can be used for community infrastructure, business and development loans and grants.
You know, if you're wanting to start a business on your farm, I think there's programs that you can work through with rural development, and K-Card is a part of that. So you can work through those programs to marry those together to help you get a business started on your farm. So anything we can do to help people in our rural communities, that's what we're about.
Yeah, and we've got a very special guest with us. We've got a presidential appointee. We've got the state director of USDA Rural Development, Travis Burton, with us. Let's go sit down and learn a little bit more from Travis.
I look forward to it, Kyle.
Well, Travis, it's great to have you with us today talking about United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development. Appointed officially a couple months ago, I think in May, to this position. Really glad to have you to talk about issues around rural development. We just kicking it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you're from, and a little bit about the office that you're going into.
Sure. First off, Kyle and Eddie, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I know how much Farm Bureau does across this state, and so it's a huge honor for me to be able to have the opportunity to talk with you all and your members. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I was appointed by President Trump back in May to this position, and it's truly a remarkable opportunity to be a part of this administration, have the chance to work for Secretary Rollins at USDA. They want us focused on improving the quality of life in rural America and creating opportunity in rural America. I love rural Kentucky. It is home. So I am so blessed to be able to have this opportunity. I live in Garrett County. I'm originally from Rockcastle County, married into Garrett County. My wife, Lindsay, is a kindergarten teacher. And of course, God bless her, going in every day, dealing with kindergartens, then coming home to have to deal with me. But we actually have 4 kids. We have Raylan and Adrian, and we also have 2 foster sons right now.
That's great.
Those kiddos keep us busy. They keep us on our toes, and they keep my hair getting grayer and grayer every day. But we're very blessed and fortunate to have a good time. We go to church in Broadhead. We have a farm in Pulaski County, just right there on the border of Rockcastle and Pulaski. The farm produces soybean and corn, and we keep a couple horses out there and a mule named Bill.
Easy enough to remember. Did you name the mule, or was that something the kids did?
Well, it actually, Bill used to have Bob, and they belonged to my grandpa. So.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Well, good stuff. I get an email update that comes from the Office of Rural Development, Kentucky Office of Rural Development. So I don't know if you signed me up for that or if I clicked on that somewhere, Eddie. But I do appreciate getting that. And I think I just saw in this week's edition, where one of the head photos were you and Lindsay, and then the kids running around the office, and that was kind of the tagline. Eddie was new State Director Travis Burton, his wife Lindsay, as his children enjoyed the office, and I think that's just so cool that your family was there that day in the office and the opportunity you have.
Well, once I got sworn in, I was able to figure out where the bathrooms were, figured out how to get my computer turned on, and then a few days later I said, Lindsay, I think you need to come up here and make sure place is presentable. So she got to come up. She brought the kids, and they were really well behaved for about 2 minutes. And then you saw that picture of them running around acting crazy. So we have a good time.
Love to see it. Hey, that's our future generation,
That's
Eddie.
right.
Isn't that what we say at the Young
right.
Farmer Conference? All the young
Kids.
children carpet farming.
They do a great job of that too. But that's great that you include your family in on what you're doing, and the foster care too. I admire you and Lindsay for doing that. That's a great story.
Yeah. Well, Travis, Eddie and I, we get to do these monthly videos, and we're really appreciative of having you on this episode. We started something new going back into last month where we're taking questions actually from Kentucky Farm Bureau members, and we had a couple that we had at the beginning here, and one of them was around rural broadband, and that's long been a priority for us, Eddie, rural connectivity, and I know originally going back 5-10 years ago, a lot of that funding and programs started and came from USDA Rural Development. I know there's a lot that has changed. There's some state programs. There's other federal programs now. I just wanted to hear a little bit from you about USDA Rural Development and kind of their efforts in rural broadband.
Well, under President Trump in the first administration, I believe they were able, through rural development, to direct about $150 million to Kentucky to invest in broadband. That's a huge number. And a worthwhile investment because, as you all know and advocate for, it's so important, that connectivity for our farmers. Even outside of that, when you think about, especially as we all lived through COVID, telemedicine, education, there was a lot of need for connectivity for our students, and there continues to be. So it is a huge deal, and we work closely with our national office to continue to identify needs here in Kentucky and communicate that to them, and we're responsible for being here on the ground and making sure that we're a resource for people that are interested in that area.
Yeah, we'll continue to work on that. I know there's always issues at the state level with positive issues, though. We've got some funding. We're working on that issue because it is so important for the reasons you mentioned, but also something that we talk a lot about, our Certified Farm Market Program,
Absolutely.
Eddie. And they've got to have connectivity, one, to run their business, but two, to market their products.
Absolutely.
It's not just out the front door and who's in your backyard. We're now able to use connectivity to market to people all over America and really all over the world. And that last mile connectivity to the farm is why our members are able to do that.
Even as much as using a credit card or a debit card at a local market that's out in on a farm somewhere. That's so important.
Makes a big difference.
And we've got 160 some markets all across the state of Kentucky now. So in our farm market program, so connectivity for all of them is very important, that we get that connectivity that they can use in a high-speed internet, that they can swipe credit cards and transact business, because that's where most of the business is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to shift gears a little bit. Another one of the questions was around what can rural development do for farmers. I think a lot of times, Eddie, when we think, or maybe some of our members, or even maybe myself at times, when I think of rural development, I think of it's more meant for your large businesses that employ hundreds of people or whatever, but there's programs for on the farm help, correct? Whether it be grant, loans. You want to talk a little bit about some of the programs that you do have?
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of untapped potential. That was one of the first things when this appointment happened. I wanted to make sure that the agency worked closely with our agriculture community. So from day one, we reached out to Commissioner Shell at the Department of Agriculture here in Kentucky. We set up a meeting with our team and his team to dive in to all of the different programs that we offer, that they work on, and figure out ways we can work together. And I think that that's going to yield a lot of exciting returns as we go forward. I don't believe it. I was told that was the first time that USDA Rural Development and the Kentucky Department of Agriculture had sat together in the same room and had an intentional conversation about how we can work together to serve Kentuckians. Kyle, you mentioned there are direct ways. There's a lot of business programs, loan and grant programs that our team can work directly with farmers if they're looking to expand production or figure out a way to grow their business, figure out a way to get into a new market. We can work with them on that, and we're happy to. One of the other things too, and unfortunately it's becoming a more occurring conversation, a disaster. So when disaster strikes, natural disasters, we have programs that can help if you have income interruptions, if you have property damage. We are an agency that can work with you through that recovery process. When it first hits and disaster first strikes, there's different groups you reach out to, FEMA, FSA. We're kind of a long-term partner in recovery, but I think that's very important to get out there as well.
Unfortunately, Eddie, we, from an insurance standpoint.
That's right. We've had enough of that over the last few years.
Yes.
I'm sure that you've been. So Travis, if I want to get a hold of rural development, if I'm a farmer out here in Webster County and maybe I don't know about a program that's out there, how would you suggest that I reach out to your agency maybe to see if there's something out there that I could use on my farm, or if I want to expand my business or something? What would you suggest that I do?
So I'm so glad you asked that, because we're very eager to talk to you out there in Webster County or anybody across Kentucky. So the best way to do that, get on Google, get on AI, whatever you use to get information, and ask for the contact information for the Kentucky office for USDA Rural Development. It'll hopefully direct you to our Lexington office, that's our state office. But also we have field offices across the state that we have dedicated team members who will work with you. If you want to go to one of our offices, walk through our programs, they're happy to do that. But we'd love for you to reach out, call us, or identify where one of our field offices is and just come meet with us.
Good deal. That sounds like it's something that people need to know about. So we'll try to help get that word out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a great question, Eddie, because I mentioned this to Travis. I think for me, I often think USDA, I think Farm Service Agency, FSA, and they have a lot of county offices out there.
They do.
So, rural development might not be as seen in some of these rural communities, but just getting on your website, there are just so many programs.
Yeah.
And you've talked about several of them. And even for communities and local governments to help upgrade infrastructure that can help bring business like an ag-based processor into the community. There's so many opportunities out there that I think I wasn't even that familiar with until, we knew we were having you on, and I intentionally went and did a little more research, and it's just so many opportunities the USDA Rural Development has to offer.
And Kyle, I'm glad you mentioned the community side of it. One of the things I mentioned, we want to enhance quality of life in rural Kentucky. If you live first off, I want to say rural Kentucky is the backbone of this state. Rural America is the backbone of this country. We want to make sure that our families who are living there have the same access to things you'd have in an urban area, quality education, quality health care. And so to your point, we do a lot of work through our loan and grant programs to invest in community facilities and community infrastructure.
Yeah. And I think, Eddie, one of the groups that you've worked a lot with served as chair of the board on KCARD, Kentucky Center for Agriculture and Rural Development. And it's different entities, but I know they've worked a lot traditionally with USDA Rural Development.
They do. They work a lot with your agency and get grants, block grants and things that are be able to use those to help farmers start a business and do business plans and see what funds are out there to work through those. So I know that they've been good partners over the years with KCARD, and I know they'll continue to be that way. So I appreciate them working with those people, because that's kind of boots on the ground that can help invest those dollars back into Kentucky you were talking about. And that's what we want, is to enhance our rural communities. It's even in our mission statement that you said it a while ago. So enhance the quality of life. So that's kind of what we want to do in our rural communities.
USDA Rural Development since 2023 has helped facilitate directing $3.3 billion in resources into Kentucky. So there's
a lot of dollars.
There's a lot we can do, and we want to be a partner and work with our ag community to make sure we're taking full advantage of all the resources we can to accomplish that mission of enhancing life and creating opportunity.
That's great.
And I think there's a lot of things that you all offer from your office, but I also wanted to talk about something and how rural development might be able to play into it, but also something that I know from my time getting to work with you in some of your previous roles, when you were at the chamber, when you were at the hospital association, something I know you're passionate about, and something that Eddie and I have talked to Commissioner Shell about on Farm to Frankfort's around food is medicine, and helping try to connect the farmer with hospitals and things of that nature, because they're a huge consumer of food, but it's also, we know that it's a healthy option whenever they're able to buy locals. And what we know is, Warren Beeler says it a lot, the deputy commissioner, the closer we can get that farm product to the plate, the more profitable it is for the farmer. So I want to hear a little bit about kind of your personal passion, or maybe it's your professional passion, whatever it might be, around kind of food is medicine, what you're able to do there.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is a passion. And while I was before this position, I was at the Kentucky Hospital Association working on issues surrounding rural health care, access to rural health care, quality rural health care. One of the things that came up when Commissioner Shell took office was using the power of local food to achieve optimal health outcomes. So he teamed up with KHA, launched Food as Medicine. It's a big deal, because you see this national movement and national understanding of there's a lot of our health is tied to what we're consuming. Just yesterday, it was announced by Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, that a huge number of our ice cream companies are going to be removing artificial dyes from their ingredients. So here in Kentucky, what we can do is look for ways to use the power of food that is produced here and getting that to large food consumers like hospitals, assisted living facilities. There are some huge food consumers out there. Think about how many meals a hospital serves in a day's time, just to patients. Just to patients.
3 meals a day.
So, and probably some snacks in there. So, if I was a patient there, I'd be wanting my snacks. But if we are working with Commissioner Shell on this to see if USDA can play a role in helping build the needed infrastructure to make it more possible for our farmers, for our producers, to sell to those large food consumers like hospital. And that's a huge new market for our farmers, and it's a powerful way to improve health outcomes in Kentucky.
Yeah, and I think something else I want to talk about, shifting gears again around what I was saying with USDA Rural Development, and we have a lot of farmers that have H-2A workers. I know there's some opportunities maybe from some loans or something around on-farm labor housing, but you all also do a lot of just rural housing programs and initiatives, and we have a lot of members all over the state, but I think a lot of them are in our rural counties, as well. And I think some of these housing initiatives are out there. Do you want to talk a little bit about what USDA rural development does around kind of housing initiatives in rural areas?
Part of the American dream is having a home that you can raise your family in. And we are a partner in that. We are a partner in making that happen. When you think about rural development, you've got to think about the ABCs, and that's affordable housing, business development, and community infrastructure. But affordable housing is key. And we have various loan and grant programs that help Kentuckians repair their homes or purchase a home, and that these programs make it possible for them to be able to do that. Again, if anyone is interested in learning more about that, we have an amazing team that moves the needle forward on housing every single day. Would love to be able to connect anyone out there that's interested in that with our housing team.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the work you do there because we talk about it often, Eddie, that our representation in Frankfort and Washington is based on where people live.
Yeah.
So if everybody moves to more urban areas, that's where a lot of the concentration in Congress and in Frankfort will be. And we appreciate having it split up and having our rural areas represented. And part of that is they have to have places that they can live at. And I think some of them can utilize some programs offered through rural development.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your work there.
That's right.
And, as we're kind of coming to a close or kind of wrapping things up, Eddie, we always kind of like to get a little lighthearted on it. And I think we've talked a little bit about Commissioner Shell. So I do want to ask you the very serious question, Travis, and that's around, I follow you both on social media and see that you do a lot of these tough mutters. And, it looks like Shell's got a lot more mud on his face, and I've always assumed that's where you're kicking mud up, where you're ahead of him and you're beating
Let's
him.
go with that. Let's just go with that version.
I think you're probably faster than him,
Hey, listen, he's got some speed, and he hauling those pumpkins around all
those
day.
little pumpkins that he grows those small ones, right?
Right.
I mean, he's still trying to grow one big one, right? But
That's
doesn't
right.
seem to make the cut there with that one big pumpkin that he wants to grow.
And we constantly have to remind him of
He's
that.
trying to name it, isn't he? Or get somebody to name it for him?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, anyway, we'll see how that plays out for him.
Yeah.
The Tough Mudder Pumpkin.
Tough Mudder, there you go. That'd be a good name for it.
But in all seriousness around that, though, Travis, I do know that you two are good friends. I know that Eddie and I, and me and you, we've known each other for a long time, worked together in various capacities. Back when you were at the Kentucky Department of Agriculture a decade ago. Not saying your experience, not old, all right?
We don't have to put a number on it, but that's right.
But I do think that it is so important that in agriculture we're all pulling together and in the same direction.
Yes.
And we did interview Commissioner Shell a couple times on Farm to Frankfort. We interviewed David Wayne, the state executive director for Farm Service Agency, USDA, last month and you this month. And I do think that's an important relationship to have, and I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate your passion in the work that you're going to do over the next 3 years, or at least 3 years.
At least. Well, and that's what, listen, I want to say thank you all for everything that you do for the state and for giving me the chance to talk about some of this stuff that we want to do over the next few years. As you mentioned, I'm not going to be here as a presidential appointee. I won't be here for a long time. But I am here for a good time. And to make that happen, we need to hear from folks and figure out how we can work together to move agriculture and our rural communities forward.
Yeah, I'm excited where we are in agriculture with like you and David Wayne and Commissioner Shell and Kyle and the work that everybody's doing for agriculture. It excites me to see where we're headed and programs that we can develop, because that's what all of our mission is to make agriculture better and make rural Kentucky better. And I appreciate your work and look forward to what the next few years is going to bring for all of us.
Honored to be on the team.
Yeah. Glad to have you. And we always close kind of a call to action, and you basically said it. If our members have questions, Eddie, they won't hesitate to reach out, will they?
That's right.
So I encourage them to reach out just like you did, and I appreciate that. So thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you all so much.